So I'm hitting record and thank you so much for being willing to do this. And I just want to acknowledge that we're recording. You know this is going to be out to the public. It's going to go on YouTube channel. You're aware of that and you signed a release form already, I think.
Yes, I did.
You did. Thank you for doing that. Okay. So sometimes when people fill out that intake form, by the time we get to the call, things have changed. But I looked at it this morning and it was career focused, like should you get your license, should you go back to school,
Yes,
all of the above, pl- plus the book and all those things. Is that still what you want to talk about?
it is. Yes,
Okay.
I think that's a good. I was thinking about it before the call and I today, and I was thinking, I think I'm still up in the air about these things. So it would be,
Yeah. Career stuff's one of my favorite things. Um, I could have taken that track in grad school, but I didn't. Anyway. So, options that I remember was you have your master's in counseling.
I do.
You didn't
Yes.
get licensed.
No.
So there's that. There's a coaching track. There's focusing on your book and maybe doing a speaker track.
Mhm.
Um, all three of those things fit together. Like
Mhm.
you could do all three of those. But here's the question I have is, are you wanting the depth or the deep work that comes with seeing clients one-on-one as a therapist and possibly running some groups depending on where you work? Or are you wanting the more with the book and speaking and stuff? I mean, it can lead into coaching, but I
Mhm.
think it could also lead into therapy. But
Mhm.
what feels best to you? More remote or deep diving with people?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
So
okay.
I honestly don't know. So yeah, I mean, I worked in the mental health field for many
Oh,
years,
okay.
with my master's, and prior to having kids, and I had intended to maybe go on and get my doctorate or get my license in mental health. And I didn't. My path took me a different
Okay.
direction.
Yeah.
And then I'm also a licensed massage therapist, so I kind of went that direction for a while I had my kids were really young, and then coming back into more of a therapeutic coaching role, integrative health coaching, and
Okay.
I have extensive training in
Training and treatment.
training. Um, Trauma informed care. I've done mental health psychology, trauma informed programs. I've done grief.
Okay.
I'm my specialty in my master's is bereavement care, palliative and bereavement care. So those have become like, and which lean more in like the therapy, right? I'm like leaning more into the therapy world, but I'm a coach. And I love coaching. It's really, I feel like it's so like it's where I sit and it feels good in my
Yeah.
heart to do it. But I just, as far as like expanding like my business and what makes sense for creating more and meeting more people where they're, meeting other people's the needs of others and serving the populations of people that I do like the online. Um, I could see myself maybe doing more in person. If I had, if I was a licensed person, I could see myself doing more privates in person, having a space where people come to do that. Um,
If I had to say of that list, which one would you fight me for if I said you couldn't do it? You weren't allowed.
oh, coaching for sure. Like what I do now. Like I love what I do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
it I think it's more of the viability aspect. Like there's something that feels has always felt very viable to me. Like the messages that I've been, that have been fed to me over time of if I got my license, then I'll always have a job. I'll always be needed. There's so many opportunities. I mean, as you peruse any listing for jobs, right? Like any being a licensed professional, there's been jobs that I've been interested in that I haven't been able to be considered for because I don't have my license. And so that I'm like, is that holding me back from something? Or is it more that I'm not trusting my path that I'm on now is because the ultimate, like 6 years ago, I made the decision not to go for my license and stick
Yeah.
with the coaching track because I was like, they're both going to take me really to the same kind of place that I want to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, why do all the training? Because my credits are basically worthless at this point. That's what everyone told me. So I have to redo, and
Are
because
you
I'm
sure? Okay. So, first things first,
okay.
check and make sure what the requirements for licensing are in your state and what you would actually have to do. Like,
Okay.
would you need to take I mean, it's a lengthy process, right? So
Mhm.
you might have to take some additional classes or continuing ed or something to come up to speed, but check directly with the licensing board. You'll need a official transcript.
Mhm.
For sure going to ask for that.
Mhm.
And just check with them, like, here's what I have. Now, what do I need to do to pursue licensure? I forgot what state you live in.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. So that's one angle. It's correct that, so why would you fight me for coaching and not therapy?
I guess because it feels like the therapy, like getting into that feels like a long haul,
Oh,
and it feels like to get like even so I don't know that I feel like I have the endurance for 2 years of, I know you have to have 2 years of supervised mental health work, which I did in the past, but I don't, it's again, it's not, doesn't qualify anymore. So, which I did find that out. And so I would have to not only fill in my transcript of classes, but it feels like, but why? Like, I feel it's like I want to do, it's like, oh, it would maybe help me grow, but do I have the endurance to, and I'm like a lifetime student. I love school,
yeah, yeah.
but I still feel like I don't know that, like, if I found the right program, maybe that would be like that I could hop in and take some classes that were new and interesting, and then I might say, yeah, okay, I'll totally do that. Um, like you said, it's a process even just to find out about the licensing. Like, what do I have to
And it's
do?
expensive.
So, versus like I am a coach already. Like I do this work. I do, it's
Yeah,
like,
I'm wondering, like,
so
as
I just,
you're talking about the school route, start to feel tired. Like I can feel my energy dropping
yeah,
because it is, if you have a passion for a path, then it doesn't matter how much work it takes. You're
yeah.
just going to step by step walk yourself through it
Mhm.
and come up with the money, and supervision isn't cheap. Um, but it sounds like you would be pursuing licensure because of some underlying anxiety about income.
Yeah.
That's not a viable, that won't keep you going. Because actually, although coaching is harder in some ways to generate client, nobody's getting clients for you, right? You have to do it yourself. You have to put yourself out there. You have to take those kinds of risks. But your income potential is based in you, not the agency you're working for. Not that you can't do private practice in Massachusetts, you can. But
Yes.
then you're doing the same kind of having to generate clients. Yeah. So
Right.
unless you have a big passion and it's just important to you to be licensed and have that sort of structure underneath you, it doesn't, I mean, you kind of light up when you're talking, you don't kind of, you do light up when you talk about coaching, and then we switch to talking about therapy, and we start this downhill
Yeah.
descent. So if you trusted that you could make a decent income and have a satisfying work as a coach, is that the path you'd pick?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because writing is also important to me, right? So like this is
Put
where
it together.
I think I got to a point like last week where I was like, well, I kind of like what you said, like if I had a choice, I'm like, well, I want to when I'm done with this book, I want really want to start another book. Like I don't want to be going into school program, you know? So coaching allows me that balance, I guess, to be able to do all and it's all like you said, it's all blended together, it's all connected. Um, but I would like to be able to grow, and the book will help with that, right? Like that's what you to grow
Yeah,
my
it's a torturous path of personal
yeah.
growth.
Right. It's like yes,
It
it just
will, it will force you to grow. It will make you grow.
yeah.
Um, so the places that open to you as a licensed therapist versus a coach are different. Like you couldn't work in a hospital, you couldn't work for hospice except maybe as a volunteer.
Mhm.
Those pathways are limited to you. Um, when you're, where are you getting clients now and what kind of clients? And I understand if you're not working with anybody right now, that's fine.
No, I have 5 active clients and friends of friends, you know, connections. There were a lot of word of mouth.
Okay.
I don't get a lot of like I have had in the past, like people through my website or, you know, like an occasional one-off person from an ad. I got someone from a poster I put up locally.
Okay.
Um, but for the most part, I feel like they're people have referred me to like either if they've been a client or they know me and they've referred people to me. Um,
Okay. And you're
yeah.
specializing in what?
Grief. I
Grief.
do a lot of grief work. Yeah, I feel like the major life and grief, you know, people who are navigating life transition stuff and they are going through and there's always an they know that I can hold the grief piece. So that has become the thread that runs through my life coaching. So
Okay. And do you have as many clients as you want? Is five as much as you want right now?
Uh, I'd like a couple more. Yeah, I think I'd like to grow that. I given myself a little, definitely a lot of grace in the like
Well, sure. I mean,
focus on book, you know. So
you have a
like
lot going
last
on.
summer, but this has taken me, it's like, you know, 3.5 years to write this book. So I wish I had talked to you about it 3.5 years ago.
Well, I didn't have anything for you to come
I
into.
know. It's all in the right timing
Yeah.
now. Um,
Yeah.
so I've set other things aside to be able to really focus on that. Yes, but I would like to grow my coaching business so that I can see more people and create more abundance. I mean,
Right.
I want to
Yeah.
be able to make a good living off of it. So
Sure. Sure.
yeah.
Have you thought about, or have you already run grief groups, bereavement groups?
I did one that ran for a few months in the winter. And that kind of faded. Oh, you know, it was came to a close, let's say. You know, it was a set
Was it
number.
structured or?
It was a structured number of sessions that we did. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, so like I wanted to have like for that a contained group, you know, of people that all were in the same cohort moving through together.
I think that's probably a good idea. How
Yeah.
did you form that group or how did you market for it? How did it happen?
I did do quite a bit of social media
Okay.
rallying for it. But I was on my, you know, my website and shared with I have a email list of
Okay.
it's decent size. You know, I have over 1,000 people having had numerous businesses over the course of the last um 20 years. And
Okay.
yeah, and so and most of those people have still kind of, you know, I having had my massage practice and then doing coaching and moving into other things, a lot of those people have kind of followed me into this realm. So I've been really lucky in that way.
Okay.
But yeah, so I guess multiple sort ways that as far as that goes. I didn't do anything like post like local, to advertise.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was one thing I didn't do. And I thought like, oh, it might be I I guess I do yearn for the community aspect. There's something for me about being out in the community.
Yeah.
Um and to be I've done some I'm a yoga teacher as well. So like I've taught local yoga classes. I've worked in recovery centers, worked in a variety of different
Okay.
places. So to be able to offer some type of group experience workshop in person, or a bereavement group in person would be really a great
Have,
thing.
have you done anything merging yoga and grief and bereavement?
um a little bit. Not I would say with my one-on-one clients, absolutely. Like this is something that I practices and things I use to teach them and support them, and
Yeah.
um but not in a group format, no.
How does that sound to you? Like
It's
you have a
really
6 week yoga
Yeah,
bereavement program.
yeah. I like that idea actually.
Yeah.
Sounds really interesting.
Another another thing you might want to reach back out to the recovery centers about is doing the grief work in the recovery center because a lot of recovery is dealing with grief.
Hmm. Yes, that's a good point too.
Things that happened, having to say goodbye to people, places, and things,
Hmm.
in order to stay sober, grieving the losses that come depending on the level of addiction and how long. There's usually quite a few losses along the way. Plus, we know that most addictions are rooted in some kind of trauma, so there's grief work around that. I just wonder about you niching your yoga into a group program specifically for grieving.
Hmm. I actually really like that. Yeah, I mean, I do use it, but I hadn't like conceptualized it as a way to kind of bring those two worlds together. Yes.
Yeah, so then they could set, just brainstorming, they could set an intention at the beginning of the 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever, what they want to let go of. You could do the paper burning rituals that with that flash paper. And then, every session you could include coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
could be movement coaching and then movement, or however you would, I think intuitively you'll know. Um, but during the coaching and then following that with movement is wonderful integration. Yeah.
Yes. I loved doing that. I loved working at the bereavement center. And I found like I was hired to do yoga. I'm not the bereavement center, the recovery center.
Yeah.
Like I was hired to do yoga, and I found that the people were yearning for coaching, right? They are yearning for guidance, and I always would have a theme with the class, and we talk about, based on different things that were I felt like were important to them, and from their feedback as well, things that they wanted to work on both physically and mentally, spiritually, and yeah, so to be able to expand on that sounds really exciting for me.
And getting really specific. Like
Yes,
that's your niche. Like it's
it really
just
is.
it is. Yeah,
Right.
it's not I'll say that it takes a special kind of people to be able to hold the intensity of grief.
Mhm.
Not everybody can do that
Yeah,
without shutting down themselves,
right.
because grief is a powerful force. And then underneath the grief come a whole bunch of other things.
Mhm.
So
Right.
being able to be a space holder like that and also having the ability to help people move it, work with it. I don't like saying move it through because it feels to me like you're working with it and transmuting it or alchemizing it or something, but forming a yoga group around that specifically sounds
Yes,
good.
it
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's something to it's amazing like in such a short time on the phone with you. I'm like, "Oh,
20 minutes, man.
grief and yoga. Okay, like Jenny, come on." Like all
Well,
this
we
stuff.
can't see our own stuff.
Yes, I mean, like I could sit here for days and weeks. I have, like, what do I do?
What
I
do
mean,
I
these are the things
do?
that light me up. And I mean, yeah, like you said, grief is not for everyone, but it definitely feels like so like it's such a part of who like my work, my purposeful work. And like I enjoy doing it. And then the yoga part is like to be in the body and connected to yourself. And you learn so much about your your life through your body, and that's the whole thing. So um
I don't feel like looking at what you have and how long you've been working with people, I don't feel like going back to add more to your skill set is necessary. If,
mhm.
like I said, if you had a passion for it, fine. Let's figure out a strategy. But you don't. I feel like it's something other people have told you you should do. Yeah, and you don't need to. You just need to work with what you've got and package it in a way that lights you up, as you said. And people are yearning for that. Um, so this also fits perfectly with your book because the book is about loss from suicide, and then the next book will also be grief and loss.
It may very well be, yes. I
Okay.
haven't quite figured that out yet, but it's possible.
Okay, it will come. So the book is a key. Like books like that opens doors. They really shorten the distance between know, like, and trust. Um, I just posted yesterday about how people are a little gun shy because some unethical coaches have really burned people, and it takes longer, as it should. I feel like it should take longer for people to sign up with coaches. Like they should do some more due diligence and really get to know people instead of just falling for a lot of glitz and NLP manipulative sales tactics and whatever. So I'm glad to see people taking more time. And also, when you are able to get a book out to people, when they come to you, if they book a call to you, they already know you in a sense. You aren't spending that time, you're shortening the time it takes to get a feel for someone if they've already read your book, heard your experiences, they read your philosophy on this whole thing and how
Mhm.
you view grief, how you view grief, your experiences, all that stuff. All that stuff's already out of the way by the time they come to see if they want to coach with you individually. Or flip side, you're presenting this package to agencies, recovery centers, um, whatever other nonprofits or community centers might want to have you come in as a speaker for staff education or to run your program,
Yes. Okay.
even down to your community recreation center. I don't
Okay.
know what you have. In some places, there's rec centers that are always looking for people to offer courses.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know if what's in your community that would be open to a grief course, but let's say, just hypothetically speaking, if you have a recreation center or centers that are looking for that, when you reach out to them, if they're interested, you can go drop off a copy of your book,
Mhm.
or even online, you can send a copy of your book. I think I'm about to sneeze. Oh, it went away. I was like, do I mute? Do I not? Try to catch it.
I think
Uh,
it. beautiful link between my book and the work that I do, because so much of what I see myself doing, my vision for the book is to do just that, to be able to get it out in the hands, even if it's not applicable to someone that they've had suicide loss in their life, which is
Yeah.
actually rare at this point. I feel like there's not very much separation between those of us who have and have not had that kind of loss.
Yeah.
But in general, just like to be able for people to have an understanding of that, and to they grief in general, it really it's something we all live through. So to be able to get that out, that's how I imagine like being able to share the book with as many people as I can. So this would be a really nice way to do that.
Yeah. And for people watching this, if you're interested in Jenny's book, I'll put a link in the show notes for people to get on your email list, probably. Yeah.
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
best.
So let's do that. We'll do a pre-order with this session.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Um, it's an important book, and I have started a list of people that I want to connect to you on that specific topic. But so so we have the book that's weaving in and out of that. If you develop a yoga program specifically for grief and loss, the book fits right in there with just the practical marketing stuff of lead generation, know, like, and trust. People get to know you with the book. And then what about speaking opportunities? How do you feel about that?
I would love to do that. I actually have done training in speaking, and I
Okay.
did a couple conferences online during the pandemic. I did a international grief conference. Um, and so I haven't I did a couple local things here last year, but honestly, this year nothing has, I think I've had my head
Oh,
in
sure. That's
my
okay.
manuscript. So, but I am very interested in doing more speaking events.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The
Yes.
book definitely gives you a leg up on that. The having a published book always moves you to the front of the line. Always. If I've got two speakers and they're both equivalent and one has a book, I'm going to take the one that has the book.
Okay.
And then that's something you can sell on site. If you're doing on-site speaking, it's something you lead people to. If you're because at the end of the speech, there should be, a freebie that you give, a session or something. They can have a chapter of the book, not the whole book, but they could have like a chapter of it or something, and then they can book a call with you. Just looking at how you keep your practice filled. Are you on email lists so so that you would know about calls for speakers at conferences?
What I have like one or two that I'm connected to on LinkedIn, but not, not extensively by any
Okay,
means.
so that's one step you can start taking is who did you speak for last time? Get on their list if you're not already, because sometimes those calls for speakers come 6, 8 months, a year ahead of time. So you'll want to be in on that, and then you can include your book in your speaker application. So you
Okay.
have like the strangely good part about your niche is it's needed and it's clear.
Mm,
Like business coaching, personal development, things like that, those are harder because they're not so clear. They're not as there's not a there's a need, but it's not the same kind of need.
okay.
Grief and bereavement, that's easy. That's cut and dried. Everybody knows
Okay.
what it is.
Yes.
Everybody needs it and needs it in a different way than I need to make more money or whatever the other stuff that we coach about.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah. It's
so,
interesting because I'm connecting dots too. I just feel like that for me, I'm thinking like the speaking and growing my business and doing all of these things like the community events. was leaning towards, well, if I get my license, then that helps me gain the credibility that I need to do
And
those things,
mhm,
which it would,
yeah,
but also I could do that through the book, right? The book
yeah,
will
yeah,
help me gain that
yes,
momentum as well.
yeah.
So it might be worth playing out that. I mean, I haven't had my book come out yet. So to see how that works as far as growing in my business, and that will help, that will give me some validity, credibility. People will be more likely or
Instant credibility.
yeah.
So if we're gonna look at speaking engagements, somebody who's licensed probably will come before.
Yes.
Uh, Somebody who has a book will be next. Somebody
Okay.
who has nothing will be bottom of the list.
Okay.
So for those kinds of venues, large scale, international grief conferences, things like that, then yes, having a PhD or even a master's or in some sort of license will help you. And also, is it really necessary? I don't think so.
Okay.
If you were gonna go like Oprah level, large scale, then at some point you might want to get your PhD. But if you're looking to lead a good life that financially supports you and your family and builds toward retirement, and although I don't think people like us really retire because we love our work so
Yes.
much and just keep doing it and drop dead at the computer at some point in the future. So, like retirement is kind of meaningless.
Right.
But, having more than adequate, abundant resources matters. You need to be resourced for your work. So I think what you were saying is why not just try it without it? And then because you can always go back and get
Yeah.
licensed. You can always go back and repeat whatever they make you repeat and do supervision and you can always do that stuff. But if you don't need to, well, yeah, why bother? What's the point of it?
Okay.
And you may not. You may be maybe get plenty of speaking opportunities and plenty of local yoga grief opportunities. That's something you could develop online um,
Okay.
as an evergreen course at some point.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could get some professional filming and put together an evergreen course that you sell. It's yoga specifically for grief. Um, so there's all kinds of directions you can go with it that I don't think a license would serve you. The return on investment just is not very good at this point.
Okay.
You think
Making
about all that.
sense. Yeah, I feel excited that I think it's the like ability to do it now, versus like that long term, like it sounds good, like maybe, but also I'm raising a family and like there's other things in life that I want to enjoy. And if I'm busy focused on a doctorate, it will certainly draw my attention in other directions that I don't know if I'm willing to do that right now. So
I just don't think it's necessary. And there's no reason not to test it. So I think a lot of people run into trouble in coaching because they feel like they have to get it right right out the gate. And it's never right straight out of the gate. You have to try this and try that and see what works, see what doesn't, iterate again and again and again. And so I think I love that you're willing to just say, you know what, I've got all this stuff. Let me put these pieces together. Let's bring this book out and use it as leverage to get speaking opportunities at conferences or wherever. And
okay.
also, it's not a given that the person with the letters gets picked. Sometimes people like your story, or they like the look of your face, or they like the feel of your energy. Uh,
Right.
you know, who just I was just thinking of Omega, Omega in New York.
Yeah, it's not far from me. And I also have Kripalu, which is like a big yoga center
Yeah,
near me too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. I would, yeah, that I think about like, oh, maybe someday we'll be able to do something when
That
it
might
makes.
not be a someday. Like, it's not that hard. Omega has an application process.
Okay. All right.
Esalen Institute has an application process.
Okay.
I got Karen into Omega.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah,
You did get
yeah,
there.
we tried Esalen and never could get in.
Okay.
But Shift Network, they have
Okay.
a process and they walk you through it, and it's a lot. But you have some of the foundational things already that they're looking for, which is social media, email list, um,
Hmm.
um, documentable experiences,
Okay.
and a book.
Okay.
So,
Excellent.
yeah,
That's
it's
exciting.
very, very doable.
Yes.
So, one thing you may want to consider is you have your packages now. It would probably be a good idea to look at your pricing in advance of the book and see if you need to bump your pricing up a bit.
Okay.
And then you may want to give some time to develop. There are people that will want a premium one-on-one, have you all to themselves high ticket package.
Okay.
High ticket meaning like 5,000 or more.
I was just going to ask you, what does that look like? Okay.
I mean, I think different people have different definitions of high ticket. Some people say anything over 2,000. I'd say 5,000. You may want to
Okay.
look at developing a $5,000 3-month container of some kind, just
I
for
see.
those who want that.
Hmm. Okay.
What else?
We talked about a lot in a short period of time. I don't know. What else?
Just revamped your whole career.
I know. I'm like,
Pretty.
woo, yeah. It's kind of, it feels like great just simplifying it in a nice streamlined way to think about, which in my mind is it felt has felt very scattered. So
Yeah,
to feel grateful to be able to see it as like a there is a line going through. Also being someone who has done a lot of training and a lot of things over the years because I love it, but it's like
yeah,
again the time aspect right now is just not there. So seeing all of that come to fruition is really meaningful to me. To feel like, oh, I did that so I can, grab pieces from each area of experience that I already have and
yeah,
utilize it for things that I love to do.
yeah.
So,
Just rearrange them.
mhm.
Something you might want to put out on a whiteboard or even just a piece of paper is your pipeline, your sales funnel. People get your book. How do they book with you? What's the name of a session at the end of your talk that you offer? So, for example, on our publishing side, at the end of my speech, I invite people to build a profitable, I mean, it has to be obvious, build a profitable business with a book call. And they come and we talk about that. And then I talk to them about writing with us, or we write it for them, like we go through the programs and things like that, but also just to educate people on what it looks like to write a book yourself or to hire a ghostwriter, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of your, be giving some thought to, okay, I've come to the end of my speech. What next? What do I invite people into? Uh,
Okay.
what free call do they get? And ideally, if you're using this for lead generation, you want to invite them to a call with you, not a PDF download. Like as part of booking the call, they might, no, I wouldn't. I would just go straight to a call.
Okay.
So then you can think about what's a just blunt, obvious name for a call with you. They book 30 minutes with you to talk about working with you.
Okay.
So they already know, like, they're going to be sold, they're going to hear an offer, you're going to make an offer
Hmm.
to them, but they're also going to get something out of it, whether they book with you or not.
Right. Okay. Yes, this is something that I haven't been strong in with my business. It doesn't come naturally for me to like the sales funnel and how to move people through. I feel like now I have the platform, I have a good
Yeah.
website, and but it to be able to, shuffle people in from different resources, that's something I have a learning curve on.
Yeah,
So
that's okay. So let's talk. Is that okay? Do you want to talk for a few minutes about that pipeline?
yes, that's fine. If you-
Okay. So in for speeches, you give your speech. At the end, you say, I have 5 spots open for a whatever, whatever call. Book, here's my booking link.
Okay.
And you can make your booking link something easy to remember. Um, your website, whatever, something easy to remember, consult, whatever that is. Then they come in and you see where they are, what are they struggling with, and if you can help them. If you can't help them or they're not ready to engage in coaching, you can have a little mini list. Or this, my preference is to have a little mini list of resources, um, a list of books they can read. They can stay on your email list and get support. If you have a Facebook group, they can go there. So you're
Okay.
talking about coaching, and then you're talking about how to stay in touch if they don't want to, they can't afford it, they're not ready. Then you're providing free resources on your Substack or whatever. And then you send them on their way. Ideally, at a minimum, they're getting on they're buying the book and getting on your email list.
Okay.
So then you can stay in touch with people and do mini teachings or series, whatever appeals to you as far as continuing to teach it on your Substack or email list or both, whatever. Um, so that's one path. The other path is they get on your email list and they get some sort of mini recording or a 3-day um, grief and movement. You could do like a nurture sequence. You have to opt in, you get your PDF, and then you get 3 days of emails or 3 emails spaced every few days on here's a somatic practice for dealing with grief.
Mhm.
Here's what you do with a little video and some instructions where what do you do at 3 in the morning when you have a dream about your person and you wake up and you're like, well, great. Like when you dream they're alive and then you wake up and it's so crushing. Like, here's what you do with that. Here's what you do when you're out and someone says, how are you? And
Yeah, this is what my book is. So you're like right on. So it's all
yeah.
about these urgent soul care moments of when you're awake in the middle of the night. That's literally one of the chapters of my book.
Okay. So you turn that into an email sequence.
Okay.
Soul care moments.
Okay.
Start thinking about naming. You can use ChatGPT for names. Always ask ChatGPT for SEO optimized names. Um, you can feed it what you have for your book and say, what would make a great lead magnet? What's the good title for a sales?
Okay.
Um, sorry, what would be a good title for a speech? I need to make a free offer at the end of my speech. What would be a great SEO optimized, compelling title
Hmm.
for your speech? Like you can draw on it for help like that.
Mhm.
And you can do that with a free account. And then it will give you garbage. It'll give you some good stuff. It'll also give you garbage. So you just play with it. It's a great place for brainstorming. Like, here's what I've got. Now, how do I turn this into something that's snappy,
Mhm.
obvious, benefit rich? You want to talk about features, you want to talk about benefits. So they sign in, they get your freebie, whatever, on the website, people that go to the website, whatever your freebie is. And then they get the thank you email. Then and you let them know, like over the next week, you're going to get an email every other day for 3 days that are going to have some bite-sized emergency, what'd you call it? Soul care,
Yeah, urgent soul care. Like,
urgent soul care
yes.
techniques or whatever you call it. So then you give them one, you give them two, you give them three, and then you invite them to whatever's next, to book a call with you about working with you one-on-one, to come join your group, to buy an evergreen program that you've developed. So you just keep thinking, okay, we're going to give this, and that leads, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Okay. I like that. And that really connects it so much to my book and
It
all
goes
the work
parallel to the book. It goes, you can invite people to refer you to others. You can say, you're available for speaking to let people know. On your website, you can add a speaker page.
Okay.
These are all things that can come. And it sounds like a lot, but it's just one little piece at a time. So, book, speaking, this yoga program. The yoga program you can start immediately.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It can help you to visualize it to do a mind map.
I'm not.
Like
Okay.
in the middle would be my coach, my one-on-one coaching or my um, groups, my paid groups. And then you can draw lines off of that and think of all the ways that people could find you and come through a get to know you process. That's what the email sequences are for. That's why they're called nurture sequences, is we're trying to get to know people and let them get to know us. And if they don't book with you, they still get something that's really high value. So that helps us feel good about being in service.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also opens the opportunity for people who want to invest with you and get that one-on-one care.
Okay.
So it will help you think of like, okay, how could people find me? What are all the ways that people could find me? They could hit the website and go through this path. They could come to a conference and they would go through this path. I could offer a community program. As soon as someone asks me how to work with me, I've got a path for them to come through. I've got
Okay.
a call that I can give that has structure to it, that has a name on it. That's a let me talk to you, you talk to me, and then at the end we decide if we're a good fit to work together, and then we talk about working together.
Mm. Yes, all of that is like stuff that I feel like I have bits and pieces,
You
but
do,
just
yeah.
to streamline it and just to feel like there's a flow. Like there's so many times where people are not so many, but I've had a few
Yeah,
where it's like I don't have those answers, right? So
right.
I find myself, so it's great to hear it as a whole and think about like filling in those blanks so that when people are in front of me, I can give them those answers.
The
Yes.
very first thing that I would recommend you do, because all these things will come together. I would recommend getting them on paper in
Hmm.
a mind map or a spreadsheet, flow chart, something
Okay.
that puts it in your brain that gives you a visual structure for it.
Okay.
The next I would, um, this is separate from the book. So the next thing I would do is work with ChatGPT. Here's what I have. Here's what I offer. I need a discovery call name that's not discovery call. I need a compelling benefit name for a 30-minute call. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
And
Is that a sneeze?
it's a sneeze cough thing.
Something.
It's a living in Georgia with loads of mold
Oh,
thing. So, because that's easy for you to go, oh, book a session, book a session, book a session. Have that conversation,
okay.
build the relationship so much faster than telling people to go get on your email list. Go straight to a face-to-face conversation, just like this.
Hmm.
So they can see you, hear you.
Yes.
You can help many help them. Don't give them the whole thing.
Hmm.
But you
Right.
can help them with some little things that will keep them going. And then you can talk about your packages.
Okay.
That's fastest. Then later, we need we'll do the pre-order page for the book. And the book inside the book will have book a call, a whatever call. with a QR code your website. So there'll be front and back matter in the book that will say, talk to me. You want to talk to me? Here. Scan
Hmm.
this code or enter this email address.
Okay, great.
Come to my whatever call. That's why it needs a name.
Yes. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
obvious and discovery calls generic and boring, and nobody wants to go to those.
I know. I know that. I started with those and I'm like, I'm not going to use that anymore.
Everyone does. Yeah, you need a how to survive your grief call or a surviving grief call,
It could be.
a
Yeah.
sacred grief or a urgent soul care call,
Yeah.
a
Okay.
soul care call. Soul care, you'll have to make it to where you can say it really easily. But book a soul care call. You're
Yes.
struggling with grief.
Yes.
Soul, book a soul care call. That's kind of hard to say,
I
but
know.
you know, fool around with it and find that. So that's your pocket response. Anytime somebody says anything on a Facebook post, um, a LinkedIn post, they send you an email, they give you a question. You can say, I would love to talk about this. The best way for us to have a conversation is for you to grab this link and go book that call. It's not
Okay.
a high pressure sales call, just let them know. It's not a sales pressure call, but we can talk about working together. But it's not like I'm not going to push you or pressure you or anything like that. But let's just have
Right.
a conversation.
Okay.
Later, you can talk about a short, like I have the 15-minute clarity calls like this for $44. So you could talk later, you could have one of those where that's how people come to you. They book that little short call, you give them two or three things they can do, that those urgent soul care
Mhm.
tips. Um, for $44 or whatever price, $30, whatever you think. And then at the end of that call, if they want to, you can talk to them about working together. 15, 20 minutes. You can knock a lot out in 20 minutes if it's focused from the start. They fill
Yeah.
out a form.
Right.
That's
Okay. Yeah, I found that the short little window is tough when someone's going through grief. So that my
maybe
niche
30
is
minutes.
challenging with that short one.
Yeah, maybe a
So
30-minute call. So if that you get right to it, like
mhm.
there's less storytelling on a call like that because it's really like laser coaching.
Right.
You've got a identifiable issue that I can help you with. Now let's jump in and get you set up. And then at the end we can
Okay.
talk more. But that would be further down the road. Do the first steps first, get that call anchored. That's going to make it so much easier for you.
Absolutely. Yes, I'll give that a try.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all set.
Yeah.
You have
I
any other questions?
I don't think so. This was really helpful, Laura. I appreciate all your time.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate you doing this session so that people can see how these sessions work and so that people can see everyone's suffering. We're not suffering in isolation. Our problems aren't special.
Right.
We're all suffering in somehow with something. And it's all things that can be helped when we sit and talk about them. Um, so yeah. Well, we are working together on your book, so I know I'll
Yes.
hear from you and see you. And if there's anything related to these things that we talked about, don't hesitate to let me know.
Yeah, I'll check in with you for sure.
Okay.
Of
All right.
course.
See you. I'm going to stop the recording here.